complex analysis again, and it's sort of confusing where I'm stopping and where I'm starting. But I hope you have got the notes of page 21 to 28. Now, Pawan, have you sent it to them?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you've got 21 to 28, and you will find that some 21, 22, 23, they're the old pages, and there's 21 new and 22 new and 23 new, maybe even 24 new, because I mean, it's the same stuff, but I thought I should sort of write it in a slightly different manner. And in any case, one of those pages is different. So, the point here is that, and what I had said last time was that Mobius transformations are basically linear maps on C2 with, when you consider C2 with homogeneous coordinates, okay? And therefore, I mean, in homogeneous coordinates, which is something that there's another name for homogeneous coordinates also. It's called, there's some word that is used in algebra when they talk about algebraic geometry or whatever. When they talk about homogeneous coordinates, there's another word that is being used, which I can't quite remember right now. But homogeneous coordinates are also important, okay? And Mobius transformations are linear transformations on the homogeneous coordinates. And it turns out that Mobius transformations are also very important in when you're talking about non-Euclidean geometry. I hope I'll say something about that. I'm not sure if I will. The point is that this actually, Mobius transformations can actually be the center of an entire course as such, and it has connections in all kinds of places. So first of all, do you have any questions for what we have done so far? Anyone have difficulties or not? No? Very good. So you understand all of it already. There's one very important exercise which I have mentioned in the notes, and I hope all of you will try and do it. The exercise is that Mobius transformations, the group of Mobius transformations forms a simple group, okay? And this is part of the reason why simple groups without any normal subgroups very naturally come up. And I have not really written out the series of exercises which show that it is a simple group, but that is a series of exercises that is there in Conway's book. And I hope you will try to do it, okay? I've told Sagar and Kaushik that, you know, that probably is the most important exercise of the lot, to show that Mobius transformations forms a simple group. And I'm sure that Dilip Patil will also be talking something about simple groups and Mobius transformations and whatever. So it's worthwhile doing that. Okay, no questions. Can I continue now? If there aren't, then I will continue. Okay. Okay, so what do I have to do now? I have to minimize this, I think. So all of you can see this page. I've called it page 21 new because you already had a page 21 old, which was not called old, but it was called page 21. And what I'm doing here is essentially the same of what was there in the page 21 previously. So as I said, you know, when you have a map, one of the things that you would like to understand the structure of that map function is what is left invariant, what doesn't change when you apply that map, okay? Or what gets permuted among itself, okay? So when we're talking about Mobius transformations, we know that it is a composition of a rotation, a dilation, and an inversion. I'm not talking about inversions right now here, okay? So first you have this rotation, That is these are the simplest Mobius maps in some way or the other. You have a rotation. You have a expansion by rho naught. Rho naught is fixed. So that rotation is e raised to I theta naught z. S of z is equal to e raised to I theta naught z. That is a rotation by the angle theta naught. Then you have S of z is equal to rho naught times z, with rho naught as a real number which is greater than 1. Okay, and then you can put these two things together. Rho naught e raised to I theta naught z. Rho naught and theta naught are fixed, and z plus b, which is a translation, and b is fixed. I should have put a b naught there. Sorry, I have everywhere. In these kind of things, it's always a bit confusing to understand what is fixed and what is a variable. So in this, I'm looking at one particular Mobius transformation. So here I'm going to keep theta naught fixed, or rho naught fixed, or rho naught theta naught fixed, or b naught. W is equal to z plus b naught is what I should have written there, where b naught is fixed. Okay, so I'm looking at a fixed Mobius transformation in each of these cases, A, B, C, D. So as I said, it is useful, important. It increases your understanding to see what happens. What are the sets that are invariant? In other words, you want a set S, or you want a set, call that set capital A. What do I mean by invariant set? I want to say that A, capital A, is invariant under the map S if S of A is contained in A. And then because S is invertible, it means S of A is equal to A. Okay. So I want a set A is invariant under a function F if F of A, the image of A under F, is contained in A. That's the usual meaning of invariant. Okay. The image does not change, or the image is contained in the original thing you started. So the question is, what are the invariant sets, first of all, for each of these maps? And this is something that you would know very easily. In fact, you already know the answer because I've given you the pages already. So you already know the answer if you have read those pages that I've given you earlier. So most times students, in most cases, students don't have the time to read what is in front of them. So it's worthwhile to do this now. What is invariant under A? Rotations. Where am I? Here. Okay, so what is invariant under the rotations? I want an answer. I want to set capital A such that rotation applied to capital A is contained in rotation. It is contained in A. S of A is contained in A. What set A can you come up with? In the first case, when you're talking about rotation.
Yeah, circle or disk.
Okay. No, you see, so the disk is a union of circles. So the point is, it is clear that if you start off with a circle center at the origin and you rotate that circle by an angle, then you're still in the same circle. You're in the same circle center the origin. Okay. So under rotation, it is clear that circles center the origin are invariant. Okay. Now there's another thing that I want to worry about there. Where I should minimize this. So I'm still going to talk only about A. I also want to find sets that are not invariant, or curves that need not be invariant. That means the image of a particular curve is not contained in that particular curve. That is what I mean by invariant. The curve is invariant. But what I want is that what are families of curves that under the permutation remain the same family. Okay, I'm not saying this, so I want a curve family of curves gamma. S of gamma may not be contained in gamma itself, but S of gamma will be some other curve in the family gamma. Is this clear what I mean by find a family of curves gamma beta? Okay, gamma beta is some family of curves indexed by some indexing set J, such that for all beta in J, if you look at S of gamma beta, that means the image of gamma beta under that S. S of gamma beta, I don't want to say is contained in gamma beta, but I want to say that S of gamma beta actually is gamma of some other curve. So there exists some other beta tilde such that S of gamma beta is equal to gamma beta tilde. Is this idea clear? Okay. So this says that the curves gamma beta, beta in J, are mapped into the same family, gamma beta, beta in J by S. It doesn't say that gamma beta itself is mapped into gamma beta. It says that that family, gamma beta, beta in J, is mapped to the same family. That means every element in that family is mapped by S into another element in that family. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So what is an example that is invariant? Yeah? Who's saying, who's speaking? Who's speaking?
The origin.
So you will understand that if you take a line through the origin, okay, at angle say phi, at angle say pi by 23, okay, and you apply that rotation to it, you will also get a line through the origin, not the same line at angle pi by 23, but you'll get the angle, a line, straight line through the origin at angle pi by 23 plus whatever theta naught is. Okay. So what I'm saying is that, I hope this is clear to everyone. What I'm saying is that circles remain, each circle, each fixed circle center the origin remains invariant. And the family of straight lines through the origin are permuted among themselves. Okay. Note that these two families, if you take a circle through the origin and you take a straight line through the origin, sorry, you take a circle, center the origin, and a straight line through the origin, notice that these two families, these two curves, the circle, center the origin, and that straight line through the origin, these two curves intersect orthogonally. At the point of intersection, they intersect orthogonally. Okay. So one of these families is just such that it is left invariant. The other is that this family is left invariant. And these two.
Hello.
Yeah. Someone has a question? These two families intersect. Yeah.
I cannot make out anything that you're saying because the connection is breaking.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you're sort of breaking up. Okay. So anyway, the breaking up is not here. The breaking up is at your end, I think. Okay. So the problem is, the point is that circles and straight lines are orthogonal and circles are left invariant, etc., etc. Okay. So what happens in the next case when you have omega is equal to rho naught times z, rho naught is a fixed number? What are the things that are invariant? Rho naught is fixed. What are the curves that are invariant?
Lines through origin.
So lines through origin are invariant. Okay. The problem is with me because I seem to be, no, but this is green. So the lines through the origin are invariant and the circles get mapped, the family of circles get mapped to the family of circles. Okay. So this is the first two cases. Again, these two things are orthogonal and they map one to the other. What happens when you have both together? Okay. What do you think is going to be invariant? So I have multiplication by rho naught e raised to I theta naught. Rho naught is greater than 0. By the way, I should also say this. What are the fixed points of rotation and what are the fixed points of multiplication by rho naught? What is the fixed points of rotation? The fixed points of rotations by e raised to I theta, the fixed points are what?
So 0.
Wait, 1 second. You're rotating by a non-zero theta, right?
Yeah. So 0 is a fixed point.
Hello?
That is clear. Okay. You rotate 0 by any angle, you get 0 itself. 0 is a fixed point. Is that the only fixed point?
Yes.
So this
Sir,
is
I'm sorry,
another
I don't
place.
understand. I think you asked if zero is the only fixed point. Yes, if you're rotating by a non-zero angle, I believe, yes, it is the only fixed point.
So remember, we are thinking not just of complex numbers. Your answer is correct if you're thinking only of the complex numbers, but we also want to talk about the point infinity. Okay. So when you have a rotation like that or this thing, there are two fixed points. One is the point 0 and the other is a point infinity. Infinity is also fixed by the rotation. Okay. So it's just a slightly different point of view because are you going to include 0 or not? And we want to include 0 at this stage. So 0 and infinity are fixed points. Okay. When you have this rotations and the scaling business. So these two things have two fixed points. What do I have to do? I have to minimize this. What happens in this case? Rho naught e raised to I theta naught z. What do you think the invariant curves are going to be? Or what do you think they will look like? Okay, let's come to that a bit later on. Okay. What about this case D? Omega is equal to Z plus B. This is just a translation. How many fixed points does this have? Translations has how many fixed points?
Only one.
Namely?
Infinity.
So the translation is the only thing that has a single fixed point. And that single fixed point is infinity. Okay? So translations have a single fixed point. And what are the invariant sets? For a translation? Yes, no. You have a translation Z going to Z plus 1. What are the invariant sets? You know, this is part of this reason why most people find these kind of ideas that they're extremely straightforward, but you have probably not been made to think about it in this manner. What are the invariant sets for translation? The translation I'm thinking of is Z going to Z plus 1. Can you give me an invariant curve?
Sir, line parallel to x-axis.
So do you understand that if you have the map Z going to Z plus 1, every line parallel to the x-axis is invariant? Yes? So if you have Z going to Z plus B, then the curves are, B is arbitrary. You have just told me the answer when Z goes to Z plus 1. The invariant lines are lines parallel to the x-axis. If you have Z going to Z plus B, B is a complex number, B naught. So you have Z going to Z plus B naught. Invariant sets are you just told me the answer. When Z is equal, yeah?
Lines which has angle argument is equal to argument of
Well,
lines.
say it in a slightly more elegant form, but your answer is correct. So what are you saying? You have lines in the complex split, straight lines.
Parallel to V naught.
Yeah.
You have
Which
straight
has
lines
angle with the x-axis is equal to argument of V
So
naught.
that argument business, I mean, don't say argument, it's not very nice. So what you want to say is that you have straight lines in the complex plane that are parallel to the vector B. Okay? If you take any straight line in the complex plane which is parallel to the vector B, then that straight line is left invariant under Z going to Z plus B. Okay? Very easy to see. Because what is the equation of the straight line? The equation is some alpha naught plus t times b. And when you add 1 to that, it is still alpha naught plus t plus 1 times b, which is in the same set. Okay? So the invariant sets are straight lines parallel to b. Okay? What is the family that is mapped to itself? What do you think? I mean, previously we had circles and those straight lines. Then we had straight lines and the circles. What is the family that is mapped to itself? Z going to Z plus B.
So all the straight lines parallel to B.
No, those are invariant. Okay. Each straight line parallel to B is mapped to itself. Okay. I'm asking what is the family that as a family is left invariant, is left, does not change. The family does not change. So what I want is, where am I? Here. So what I want is find a family of curves gamma beta, beta in J, such that for all beta, there exists a beta tilde, such that S of gamma beta is gamma beta tilde. That means the curve gamma beta are mapped onto the same family gamma beta by S. I'm not saying that S of gamma beta is contained. So what is the family?
Lines which are orthogonal to vector B.
You're still talking about translation by V naught,
Translation,
right? So
translation by B naught. Yes. So someone has just
take
told me
lines
what
which are orthogonal to V naught.
So do you understand that lines which are orthogonal to V naught, that family of lines? So if your equation is Z going to Z plus 1, each line parallel to the x-axis is left invariant, and each line perpendicular to the lines parallel to the x-axis, okay, that means the lines parallel to the y-axis. So each line parallel to the y-axis is mapped to another line parallel to the y-axis. This is clear, no? Each line parallel to the y-axis is mapped by S into a line that is parallel to the y-axis. So lines parallel to the y-axis, that family is kept invariant. Okay? Very good. So, what do I want to do? I want to minimize this again. Now let's come. So I've done what? A, B, and D. What happens in the case C? That means you have an expansion and a rotation. So what do you think are the lines that are invariant? And what is the family that is kept as a family is kept invariant? So what corresponds to 1 and 2 in that case? Any suggestions? So in some sense, you will understand that C, rho naught e raised to I theta naught z, is a combination of A and B. Let's look at invariant sets. in A, the invariant sets were circles. In B, the invariant sets were straight lines. C is a combination of A and B. So you expect that the invariant set should be okay, rho naught e raised to I theta naught z is a combination of e raised to I theta naught z and rho naught z. So you expect that the invariant sets are
The intersection of line and circle.
no intersection. How can it be intersection? Intersection is not the right thing to think about. What do you? I want something that reflects circles and straight lines. So when you try, so as you're going around a circle, you also want to go around that. You also want to go along that straight line. What will you get?
So curves.
Which curves? What do you think the curve looks like?
So cylindrical curve, like see.
Is it cylindrical?
Like that of trigonometric functions, sine and cos. Something of that sort.
So sine and cos is always going to keep in that same thing. What you're saying is a circular kind of thing. But is that going to be right? You see, 0 and infinity are the fixed points. Yeah. And you have circles around 0 and you have straight lines going from 0 to infinity. I want a combination of these two. Some way that I want to get a combination of these two. So what should I get? What do I geometrically think the combination should be?
So tangent plane about the circle.
Which circle? What tangent plane? So there's some tangent plane, yes, but what is a curve? Is everyone clear what I'm asking? I'm saying in that particular case, I have a combination of that rotation and that dilation. Okay. In the case when you have rotation, the invariant sets are circles. When you have dilation, the invariant sets are those straight lines going from 0 to infinity. How will I put these two things together? What should I get? I should get something that also goes around and also goes from 0 to infinity. So I should get a...
Hello?
Yeah. Ishan, what are you saying?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if you heard what I said previously.
No, I didn't. What did you say?
Circles about the origin.
Yeah.
Is
No,
that
I didn't
okay?
hear. No. What did you say? I didn't understand.
Concentric circles about the origin. So rotations
Huh.
are going to take the circles to the circles.
Rotations, that is correct. That is for the case when you have
and
rotations.
stretching.
And when
And
you have
the
stretching, there are
is
straight lines. That is
again
also
going to
correct.
just increase the radius of the circle.
So what will you get? What do you call such a curve? So say it again. Say what you're telling me again.
Concentric. I was going to say concentric circles about the origin.
And?
About the origin.
No. Those things are invariant under only rotation. But I also want that line business to come in. When I want to put these two things together, what will I get? I want something that goes around the origin and which is going outwards. Such a thing is called what?
Spirals.
Do you understand? This is the word that I want to get out of you. It is some kind of a spiral. Okay. When you have a spiral, you're going around the origin. Are you going around the origin in a spiral? Yes, you are. Are you going away from the origin in a spiral? Yes, you are. Okay. So when I'm putting both those things together, I should get some kind of spiral. Now, exactly how does that spiral look? It's an interesting question too. So the answer is a spiral. Okay. It's a spiral that goes around the origin and the radius goes on increasing. And the question, of course, is that how does the radius go on increasing? Here, this admit, I should admit, is it? Maybe I can admit whenever there's something like that. So the answer is a spiral. Okay. And so in case C, the things that are invariant are spirals. And if you have a spiral, okay, each spiral, so-called spiral, is supposed to be invariant. What do you think the family that is left invariant should look like? Do you understand the question I'm asking now? Second thing, find a family of curves such that for all beta there exists beta tilde S of gamma beta is.
For the equation of spiral.
No. I'm not asking for an equation right now. I'm asking for some geometric intuition. Okay. I'm going to tell me the equation. Okay. That comes at a later stage. Right now, I'm trying to get that intuition out of you. If you want radius to increase, if you want to go around the circle, if you want to go around the origin, while simultaneously having the radius increasing, the thing you should have is some kind of spiral. Okay. The next question is, what is that equation of that spiral that is left invariant under this thing? Okay. So that is one of the exercises here. Find the equation of that spiral. So those spirals are going to be left invariant. Okay. My question is, what is that family which is in part 2? Find a family of curves gamma beta such that for all beta there exists beta tilde such that S of gamma beta is gamma of beta tilde. And from your intuition in the other 3 cases, you expect that the family should be, can you describe that family? Now I know that I have these spirals. Can you describe to me what that family should be? Yes? So do you understand in the other cases we had given that invariant sets? In case D, the invariant sets were straight lines parallel to the vector B. The family that was left invariant were that family which is orthogonal to all these elements in this family. Yes, that was the case in case A and case B also. So you expect that your answer in case C will be the family that is orthogonal to that family of spirals that you have talked about earlier. Okay, so it actually gets quite interesting. How do you show that that is true? Do you understand what I'm saying? There are 2 things involved. Find the curves gamma that are left invariant and find a family which under that map is mapped to itself. Okay, and the family that is mapped to itself in each of those cases is orthogonal to the family that is left invariant. Okay, so so each of these, so A, B, and C have 2 fixed points. D is the thing that has exactly 1 fixed point. Okay, and if you noticed, I put a S sub E, S sub H, S sub L, and S sub P. S sub P has, in the case when you have a unique fixed point, S sub L is a combination of S sub E and S sub H. Okay, and S sub E is this pure rotation. S sub H is this pure expansion. And the reason I've written that S sub E and S sub H and S sub L and S sub P, which those of you who had scrolled down already on this, is because S sub E is called the elliptic Mobius transformation. S sub H is called the hyperbolic Mobius transformation. S sub P, unique fixed point, is called the parabolic Mobius transformation. At least these 3 names are familiar to you: elliptic, hyperbolic, and parabolic. What may not be familiar to you is that S sub L. S sub L is called loxodromic Mobius transformation. So loxodromic is supposed to be a mixture of elliptic and hyperbolic. And of course, you have heard these terms. Yes, elliptic, hyperbolic, parabolic. These terms you have heard many times up to now. Okay. So what do these pictures? So here are some exercises which again are purely geometric exercises about complex analysis, which I hope you'll start thinking about. This is what I mean by saying that you should understand complex analysis geometrically. So what is this exercise? This is a theorem that you have probably proved in high school if you have, which says that you take a ABCD as a quadrilateral, it closes, it's a closed quadrilateral. Draw squares on each of the sides. So you have a square on the side AB, the square on the side BC, the square on the side CD, and the square on the side DA. Call the centers of these squares as PQ, R, and S. And what is the exercise? The exercise is PR is perpendicular to QS. So again, this, okay. This is purely a problem in complex numbers. Okay, this can be thought about much earlier in FY, in the first year, second year, you can do this. Okay. Then the next question is, everyone knows what a spiral is, a proper spiral. Okay. And the question is, what is the parametric equation of a spiral? All of you have seen these pictures before. Where have you seen these pictures of the spiral? Where have you seen spirals? No, you have never seen a spiral.
Are you asking? I would suppose you're asking about snails.
Okay, snails, yes. Okay, you have seen it in snails and shells and whatever. Okay, nautilus. Okay, so you have seen it there. In mathematics, where have you seen it?
Converting.
Yeah.
Sir, in vector analysis.
In vector analysis, where?
So in dynamical systems.
Where in dynamical systems?
In phase portraits of our systems.
So do you understand that spirals are the natural kind of things that you will have near a sink in a dynamical system? Okay. And you have also seen spirals when, you know, there's a cyclone that is hitting Orissa just now. That is a spiral. Okay. Of course, it's not just a simple spiral, but the dynamics there is the dynamics of a spiral. Okay. So spirals occur ubiquitously, everywhere they occur. Okay. So phase portraits of dynamical systems is one place where you have seen spirals, and that spiral that you have seen in the phase portrait of dynamical systems, a particular dynamical system, is actually a proper spiral. What we're talking about here is not quite that. So the point is spirals occur everywhere. Okay. And you will understand that, you know, it is important to understand. It's important to see what they are like. So what is the equation of a spiral? So the question here is that if you have a proper spiral, whatever I mean by a proper spiral, what is a parametric equation for a proper, correct spiral? Okay. And what is the difference between, and obviously you know that this first spiral and the second spiral are spirals. And the difference between them is what? It is, one is a right hand, yeah?
It's a direction.
Which direction? So what do you want to say about direction?
So like it is a left-handed system.
So do you understand that there's a orientation that the spiral has? Right-handed orientation and a left-handed orientation. And how do you distinguish between spirals with left-handed orientations and right-handed orientations? So some of you who have done this who know a little bit about dynamical systems, know what this is about. Okay. So what is the equation of a spiral is another question that I want you to think about. And if it's a proper spiral. The thing that we have there, those loxodromic curves are not spirals in this sense, but they have this property about the spirals that you're going around the origin and your radius is increasing. Okay. And the question is that write down that equation. And here is another, purely complex analysis geometry kind of result, which says that you take a closed K polygon, K-sided, okay? And so this is my original polygon. Then what do? You find the midpoints of each of these sides. Dj is a midpoint of the side Zj, Zj minus 1, Zj. Okay, it's a midpoint. Then you form the polygon which consists of the midpoints of the original one. And then you form the K plus 1th polygon, which is the polygon formed by the mid sides of the polygon at the K level. And prove that the K plus 1th polygon converges to this. And what is this point? This point is called the centroid. Okay. So this again is a purely geometric and property. I mean, this is a purely complex geometric kind, complex plane. And this is also interesting that you can express the area of the polygon pi in terms of this. Area of the polygon is 1/2 summation. This is the oriented area. So I have an area with a sign. Area of the polygon is summation j equal to 0 to k minus 1 imaginary part of zj bar zj plus 1 with a 1/2 in front. And the area of the polygon is less than 1/2 times the sums of the squares of the lengths of those points. So it sort of tells you that there is geometry involved here in this thing itself. Okay, so now finally let me come down to what I was been spending all this time about. You have a Mobius transformation, AZ plus B. This has two fixed points, which is namely if B is equal to 0, the fixed points are 0 and infinity. These are the invariant sets. And then I want to write down what happens to these invariant sets under the stereographic projection. We know what the stereographic projection is. So it is clear that a curve center the origin is mapped by the stereographic projection to latitudes. Okay, that means the intersections of that with planes that are parallel to the complex plane. And these lines going from 0 to infinity are great circles that go from the north pole to the south pole. So these invariant sets and invariant families are mapped to, under the stereographic projection, they're mapped to great circles, sorry, they're mapped to latitudes and longitudes. Okay, latitudes are the horizontal ones, whatever I mean by horizontal, and longitudes are those ones that are going from the north pole to the south pole. Okay. And it's very interesting to think of how many of you, so this is also another exercise I should tell you. So all of you are from all over the country, all of you speak different languages, okay? What do you call a latitude and a longitude in Marathi, Hindi, Oriya, Tamil, Telugu, or whatever? Bengali. Do you people know? What is it called in Marathi?
Yeah, in Marathi, it is known as Aksharutta and Rekharutta.
Aksharutta and Rekharutta. What is it called in Hindi? Now, what is it called in Tamil? I always ask this question. It's a nice question to ask. Most students, there are not very many people, even in Pune, who will know what it is called in their own language. Okay, so this is really a good exercise. Write down what is the name for latitude and longitude in 5 different Indian languages. Okay, forget about all the Western languages. Does anyone know what is called in Hindi or what is called in Tamil or Bengali?
अक्षांश और देशांतर दिखाएं.
Kai, what is it called?
अक्षांश और देशांतर दिखाएं. हिंदी में सर.
हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं?
Bengali.
हाँ.
अक्षांश और देशांतर दिखाएं. Latitude and latitude.
Okay. So good. At least some people know about these things. Okay.
Bengali Hangsho, latitude.
Okay. Good. So you know some about something.
Longitude is called Draghimangso.
Very good. Okay. So the point is that these circles are mapped to latitudes and longitudes. Okay. And when you have this dilation, the role of the latitudes and longitudes are interchanged. So in this case, the invariant sets are the longitudes and the family that is kept invariant are the latitudes. Okay. And this is the picture when you have both of them present. And that is what I meant by that. You want to go around. At the same time, you want to go from the North Pole to the South Pole. Sorry, from the South Pole to the North Pole. And the picture that you will get is a picture like this. Okay. You're sort of going around the sphere in a spiral that remains on the surface of the sphere. You're going round and round, and you're going from the South Pole to the North Pole. You'll find an even more interesting picture in a little while. But at least this picture, is it clear to you? That I'm going circularly, I'm going round so I'm starting from the South Pole, and I'm going round and round the South Pole, and I'm getting further and further away from the South Pole. Okay. So then I go round here, and then I come to the North Pole, and then I go smaller and smaller circles until I reach the North Pole. I should have tilted my North Pole and South Pole in the other direction, not in this direction. Anyway, okay. So this is the loxodromic case. You have 2 fixed points, and it's a rotation and a expansion simultaneously. This picture in the third case it's clear now what I've written there. The third case, it's clear now. You're going round and round on the circle. And by the way, you have seen pictures like this. Yeah, there are pictures like this in meteorology. How does a monsoon work? And then where does it goes as a monsoon goes up and it goes across. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay, so that picture is important. That picture is something that you should keep in mind, this picture. Okay. And what is more interesting is what happens when you have this translation. So the invariant sets are curves that are parallel to B, and those families that is left invariant are curves orthogonal to this. So they're in the direction of B perp. B perp is what, by the way? If you have a vector B, if you have a complex number B, what is a perpendicular to that? If B is a complex number,
So is there a dot product?
So which is, tell me, if B is a complex number, what is the complex number that is perpendicular to that?
So B conjugate.
Is that right?
So if B is x plus iy, then it's orthogonal.
If B is 1, what is a perpendicular vector? 1 plus I0, then the perpendicular vector is?
So I into 1, like I.
So if B is any vector, the vector that is perpendicular to B is?
So IV, like I
Do
give
you understand
rotational.
you see, you have not, the whole trouble here is that you're not thinking in these terms. if B is a vector, if 1 is the vector, 1 plus I0, the vector that is perpendicular to that is I times 1. Okay. If B is any vector, the vector that is perpendicular to that is, yeah.
Orthogonal to A comma B, you have.
No, I didn't
If you
understand.
represent the complex number by A.
Huh?
Hello?
Yeah.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You asked if it is perpendicular to any complex number that you're given, right?
A plus IB. What is a perpendicular number?
If the complex number is A, if the complex number is A comma B,
yeah,
then something which is orthogonal to it is C times minus B comma A.
So it's minus B comma A, which is minus B plus
Linear
IA.
multiples of that. Yes.
I want one, okay. And therefore that is, do you understand that that is I times the previous number you got?
Oh, yeah. You can rotate just by multiplying by I.
Multiplication by I gives you a perpendicular complex number. Yes?
Yes.
And you probably have not thought of it in that manner. Multiplication by I gives you a complex number that is perpendicular to the original one. Okay? So why am I saying this right now? There's some reason I'm saying this. So if this is parallel to B, the perpendicular things are IB, parallel to IB. Okay? Invariant sets of straight lines parallel, etc., etc. So the more interesting thing is what happens, what is the image of these things? What is the image of, for example, these lines parallel to B in the Riemann sphere under the stereographic projection? So what is the image of these straight lines under the stereographic projection, okay, on the Riemann sphere? So you know that straight lines get mapped to circles. And because it's a straight line, it will be mapped to a circle which passes through the origin. Because it is a straight line, it will be mapped to a circle which passes through the North Pole. Okay, so this line, straight line, is going to be mapped to a circle in the stereographic, in the Riemann sphere, which passes through the North Pole. Which circle does it map to? Is the question. Okay. And please try to convince yourself that what it maps to are these family of circles. Okay. Going like that. I don't know how I'll describe this. And all these circles have tangent. So all these circles pass through the North Pole. And all of them have tangents at the North Pole that are parallel to B. So these C's are mapped under the stereographic projection to circles passing through the North Pole, which all have tangents at the North Pole, which are parallel to B. So try to convince yourself of this statement. Okay, you take a look at its image and then look at this tangent at the North Pole, and you will find that the tangent to the circle at the North Pole is on the circle, and the tangent to the circle at the North Pole is parallel to B. Okay, what happens to the orthogonal trajectories? Okay, this is the parabolic case. So the orthogonal trajectories from this picture, can you tell me what will happen? So I have this picture in front of me for those lines that are parallel to B. What happens to the lines that are perpendicular to B? What I'm asking is clear, no? This is what happens to, that picture is what happens to straight lines that are parallel to B. The image of that on the Riemann sphere. You have this other family which is straight lines perpendicular to B. That means straight lines parallel to IB. Those straight lines also have to be mapped to a family of circles which also pass through the North Pole. And therefore, that family of straight lines are going to be mapped to a family of circles which pass through the North Pole. ... What should I write in ... Okay, so this is a good place to stop. Please think about these things, okay? So the point here is that, so the thing you must think about here now is that what is the equation of a proper spiral and what is that equation of that thing which is the loxodromic case? Okay, they are spirals, but what kind of spirals are they? Okay, you should be able to write down what that equation of that invariant set is. Okay, I should stop here. I'm out of time. 16:28. I have 2 minutes remaining. And as usual, as you can see, I'm not doing anything particularly fancy, but you probably have not thought about this subject in this manner. Okay. And it is very useful and very important to think about Mobius transformations in a geometric manner. And when you start thinking geometrically, you will understand that this also has deep connections with non-Euclidean geometry, with relativity, with fluid mechanics, with all kinds of things. Okay. So please try to develop this. It's not just in this case. Whenever you're reading something, try to develop a geometric intuition of whatever it is that you're trying to understand. Having the geometric intuition always helps. Okay, questions? No one has questions. And I'm getting this feedback also from both Kaushik and Sarkar that, you know, there's not that much response from students, which I hope as time goes on, there will be more and more response. No questions. You can send me questions on email. I'll try to answer whatever I can, but we'll see how it goes.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
Sir, you gave a question.
Yeah.
I'm getting my voice repeated.
Yeah. Okay. It's not repeating here. You can go ahead.
So I was asking the question that you gave to find d2 of f of x naught comma y naught evaluated at 3 points.
The derivative, higher order
Yes,
derivative
sir.
business. Yeah.
So I was not able to understand that how will I evaluate d2f of x, d2f that was 6x1 matrix that I obtained on
That
those.
is the whole point. Okay. And what you should do there is exactly the same as what you did when you were talking about the first order derivative. You chose a basis. You're writing things out in terms of that basis. And then you're trying to say, evaluate that in terms of that basis. So how do you multiply that matrix is the question. Okay. So you have to go back. So the reason you're having difficulty with that is because you have not understood what happens in the first order derivative. Okay. So you have to go back to the first order derivative and see what you do there. And you have to do the same thing here for the second order derivative. You choose a basis of linear maps. Okay. And then once you have chosen the basis, then you will be able to actually calculate something. This is another general comment. You know, whenever you want to calculate anything, you usually have to choose a basis. The base-free business of anything is very good for mathematical understanding. But any and every calculation of anything and everything always requires a choice of bases. Okay. So, I mean, you should not, you have to do things without, I mean, it's called coordinate free, without a choice of bases to understand the mathematics of it. But to do any calculation at all in anything that you're talking about, you have to do it in terms of a basis. Okay. So doing things in the basis in terms of coordinates is actually important, is something you have to learn how to do in any case. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So if you have any questions, send it to me by email. Okay, I'll try to answer. So I'll stop. So stop sharing first of all. Where am I?